What's up, squeegee slingers and water-fed pole wiggling wagglers and gutter guzzlers? How are you doing? Hopefully you've been keeping well. Apologies, haven't popped a video for a good wee while. There's been a lot going on, a lot with work, and my alternative job that I do as a motorcycle instructor has been a lot going on with that as well. So it's been a bit tight for time. But yeah, now things have kind of calmed down a little bit. Hoping to try and get a few more videos up on YouTube. So today we're going to be doing a window clean for our regular client using the Waterfed Pole system, which I haven't introduced you to yet on this vehicle. And we're also going to be doing a gutter clearance for this customer as well, using my new gutter vac. Well, kind of new, had it for a few months now. But yeah, I'll let you have a good look at this gutter machine as well. So stay tuned, let's get going. Right then folks, so we've arrived at the job. Lovely place to be, right in the Scottish countryside. But you can see why they need their gutters cleared fairly regularly. They've got all these lovely pine needles. So, great. So I thought I'd let you see the water system first. So, just having a look at this is a 500 litre system. Now personally I like to go for something that's robust, well built, but not overly complicated, less to go wrong. So it's literally a 500 litre system with a crash tested frame from Pure Freedom. So these are all custom built and made to order. I just got it as a delivery only system because I already had DI and also Unger Hydro filters, so I didn't need any filters to come with it. So I just asked for a DI system with the V16 pump and controller. So the only downside to this system I found was actually this. This is a little bit temperamental to set up, but fortunately Ian Shepherd, he's a very good and knowledgeable man when it comes to these things. He kept me right with trying to get this sorted. I followed the instructions that came with it and it didn't work, so we between the two of us had to tweak this a little bit to actually get the water to flow properly. So that was a little bit of a headache, but apart from that the system seems pretty good. So yeah, it's literally just take the top off here and fill it up with the purified water. So this can be connected to an external tap, and then that just feeds into the top of the tank there. So nice and simple, nice and basic. And we've got our leisure battery down here, which I just charge once per week. So I haven't got a relay connected to this and connected to the van. I was quite happy with just charging it once a week because I park the van next to my garage anyway. So I just run an extension out once a week and charge up the battery. So that is the purified water system. We've got 100 meters of cable. Let's have a look just around the back here. There we are. So we've got 100 meters of hose here. We've also got the Unger N-Light brushes and the Unger N-Light poles. These are actually a good couple of years old now and still going strong. So really good brush. It's got really quite nice bristles, nice design, good for scrubbing the sills and the glass as well. Nice shape there. Only thing is that they're a little bit heavy. So if you like a really light brush head, then this isn't maybe the one for you, but this is really good for getting off stubborn stains and gets into all the little nooks and crannies. So I do like this one. So yeah, so we've got all the N-Light poles up there. Unger Stingray here just for the odd internal clean. And then we've got our gutter machine stuff here. So got the generator which we will be using today, which is a Clark 3400 watt generator. Obviously takes petrol, this one. So we've got the main switch and an eco switch, dual plug, and then your choke and fuel. So pretty self-explanatory, pretty robust, hardy machine. Not too expensive either. It was about maybe £500–600 or something like that roughly. Okay, and then we've got our poles for the gutter vac there. We'll show you them in a moment. They're the clamped poles as opposed to the push fit ones. The hose for the gutter vac is in that bag there, which we'll have a look at in a moment. Got a 40 meter extension reel, electrical extension reel, to run from this to the gutter machine. We've got the Atom Sonic. So let's grab the Atom Sonic out and let you have a look at that. Right then folks, so here's the Atom Sonic from Skyvac. So this is a twin motor 2800 watt vacuum system, okay? So it's got really good suction power. If you just want the one motor you can, by just obviously switching one switch on, or if you want both motors, which I normally do, why not have full power, right? And use them both at the same time. So the generator that we've got there, which is 3400 watt, can easily cope with the Atom Sonic on full power. So it's really good. Also comes with a deflection plate inside, so we'll show you that. Okay, so just taking the top of the vac off there, so you can see it's got this metal deflection plate there, and the filter sits behind that. So it just helps the filter to stay cleaner longer, as opposed to the previous model, which was just the Atom. That filter is completely exposed to all the dirt and debris, whereas this has got a deflection plate, so the dirt hits off of this and then goes down into the drum. So it's a nice wee feature there to help prolong the life of your filters, save them getting all clogged. So they recommend normally that you keep this filter in if you're doing any sort of dry materials that you're sucking up, and if you're doing wet stuff, to take the filter out. Personally, I tend to try and leave the filter in just all the time, but sometimes it does get pretty saturated and you can tell it's not sucking as much as it did before, so sometimes you do have to take the filter out if it gets pretty saturated, but you can normally tell pretty straight away when it's not sucking as it should be. So it's a good machine. Costs about a couple of grand, £2,000 approximately, including VAT for this machine. So it is a wee bit on the pricey side, but you soon make that back after obviously the jobs that this thing can tackle. I've done castles and all sorts with this machine, massive jobs. So this can cope really well with your residential stuff, because it's not too big and bulky like some of the industrial machines, but it can also cope with industrial styled work as well. So good all-round bit of kit there. It just ticks all the boxes for our use. So yeah, so we're going to use a combination today of the machine and the water system to get this job done. So let's crack on. Right, so first things first, we'll get the hose out for the gutter vac. I'm going to try and do this one-handed. There we go. Right, get this over to the machine. It's literally plug and play, it's really nice and easy, just connects together very simply. So you've got a soft sort of rubberized end that goes onto the poles, and then you've got a plastic end that goes into the machine. That's it, simple as that. So that's connected, ready to go. Next up we've got the poles. So these are carbon poles, and as you can see from the end here, they have clamps. So similar to obviously a water-fed pole, when these are clamped together, it just saves the pole sections from spinning, and gives you a bit more strength and rigidity as well with these poles compared to the push-fit ones. So much prefer these clamped poles for doing gutter clearing. Again, a wee bit on the pricey side, but much better quality than the previous model. So also comes with a wide carbon fibre neck on there as well. The previous model was a rubbery connection, it wasn't very good, it used to get clogged quite a bit, as you can see where that is a lot wider at the neck, so it saves it getting clogged as often, and it's more rigid. So if you're tackling something pretty strong that's not coming out of the guttering, with the previous rubberized neck it was just bending on itself and wasn't very good, whereas with a rigid neck you can give it a bit more oomph, shall we say, to get the tufts of grass or whatever out of the gutters. So much better idea having a solid neck for the gutter clearing system. And we've also got different types of these. So we've got plastic ones and metal ones, different shapes and sizes, thin ones and regular sized ones like this. So my preference normally is this one, unless it gets quite tight where the slates perhaps are encroaching on the gutter space and you need it to be maybe half that width, then there is a crevice tool as well. So it just depends on the job. So to start with, we're going to use this one here because as memory serves, this job this can fit in the gutters not too bad at all. So let's get these connected together. This side of the building we don't need many poles, it's not particularly high, so probably just a couple of these poles will get me to the right height, whereas round the back it's quite a bit taller, so I'll need probably 3 or 4 sections to do the back. So right, let's get cracking with that. We'll get these couple of poles out and start the machine up. Right then, so we'll get this generator fired up. First thing we need to do is put this switch on here, otherwise I will be pulling the starter cord for quite some time. Get the choke on. Now if it's been sitting in the cold, which here in Scotland it has been a little bit cold overnight, it might take a few more pulls to get the machine going than perhaps during the spring summer months. So make sure the fuel tap is on, choke is full, switch is on, so that should fire up. Emphasis on the word should. Okay, and then after it's been running for a moment, just let it actually do its job with the choke, the revs pick up a little bit when it starts to warm up, and then we can switch the choke off and she'll run sweet as a nut. These do have a fuel gauge on them, but yeah, they're not particularly accurate. You're just better taking the cap off and having a look. Okay, so while that's warming up, get our extension reel out. Plug that into one of the outlets here. And just reel this out to where we need. Now the reason I personally like to be self-sufficient, I have the generator with me. Personally, I don't like asking to use the customer's electricity. Now I know it's fairly common, there's a lot of people that do, and that's perfectly fine. But for me personally, I'd rather turn up, be totally self-sufficient, and I'm not using up their electricity either. So for me, it just comes across a wee bit more professional that you're completely self-sufficient as opposed to needing something from the customer. But each to their own. So right, let's get this plugged in and we'll fire it up. Remember to completely unreel your reel. If you don't, there's the potential of a fire hazard if you don't completely unreel your electrical reel. So get into a habit of unreeling that completely before you fire everything up. Now another little tip for you folks, if you are using obviously a generator or even the mains, when you switch on the motors, if you do it one at a time, then it just saves a really large surge of electricity being demanded by the system, whatever you're using, whether it's a portable supply or indeed the mains. So switch on one, wait a couple of seconds, and then switch on the next one, because you do get a surge of power when you initially switch it on. So just do one, 2, 3, there we go. Now you'll also notice, folks, on the bottom section here, we've got this part here which opens and closes. So similarly to your vacuum cleaner at home, if you open it and allow more air through, then the suction, obviously the power of the suction drops down, whereas if you close it, then you get full suction again. So the reason that's there is if you get the end of the nozzle clogged with maybe a big tuft of grass or a bit of slate, whatever it might be, you can open this up. That piece will drop out. Normally when you give the pole a bit of a shake, that piece drops out onto the floor. Then you can close that again, get full suction and carry on. It just saves bringing the entire pole down, taking the clogged piece out of the nozzle and then putting the pole back up. So it's a nice handy little feature there, and it saves you bringing the pole down. So all good on the shoulders, can't complain about that. So as part of our service, not only do we clean the horizontal guttering, we clean the valleys as well, so that piece between the roofs, we clean that as well. We also clean the downspouts at the bottom here. So you'll notice there's a lot of debris in here. So we've got a lot of pine needles, that's what the gutters are full of. The machine's pretty good at pulling out the dirt that's up here. Sometimes you might need to give the pipe a little bit of a tap and some bits down here fall out the bottom. But as part of our service, we also clean the bottom section to make sure it drains away properly into the ground. So just to maybe give you some ideas if you want to do that. So all the horizontal, all the vertical piping, and indeed the ground as well. Make sure that's nice and clear. Okay. A good little tip for you folks, hopefully you can hear me alright, is to move the actual nozzle back and forwards as you move it from left to right. Because obviously the nozzle is not the same width as a gutter, so it's obviously a wee bit smaller than the actual gutter normally. So move your pole forwards and backwards as well as going left and right, and you'll make sure that you suck up all the debris and standing water. Okay, so let's clear this downspout at the bottom here. Now, a good way to test to make sure that this drain pipe is clear is grab yourself a little leaf, okay? The machine is in the top of the downspout there. And just put a leaf inside and you'll see it get sucked away. There you go. So that's how you know it's clear. Let's try a bigger leaf. Gone. There we go. Little test for you to know that it's absolutely clear. Right then folks, so here we are, we're to do the water-fed pole side of things. We've cleared out all the guttering on this job, so what we've got to do now is get all the windows nice and clean. So we've got the upper floors, the conservatory roof and lower down level as well. So you can see some of these windows are a wee bit inaccessible, so hence why we're using the water-fed pole, and we're also washing the top of the conservatory there as well. That's all included, and then all the PVC and glass and sills are going to be cleaned as well. So get the system on the go, get this nice and clean for the customer, and then job's a good one. Gutters and windows. Right folks, so I have the univalve fitted in here, so all I need to do to get the water flowing is pull on here and you can see the water starts. Okay, the univalve's been around for a while, but if you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link in the description below. Very handy little device for saving your water a bit more. So we're going to wash all the PVC down. It's quite a dusty area, so get all this nice and clean. And then do the glass. So I like to start with the top of the pane there, and then start from the sides and go up and down all the way across, and then give it a rinse at the end. Now, it's all down to personal preference, but I personally prefer to, if I can, take the brush off of the glass and rinse. I want the last thing to be touching the glass to be purified water. If you've got a rinse bar, that tends to work okay. You can, obviously the last thing to touch is the rinse bar, the water coming from that, but me personally, I still, for peace of mind, I like to rinse it down like this. Just lifting the brush ever so slightly off the glass and giving it a good rinse down from top to bottom. So it just saves any debris coming from the bristles being left up behind on the glass. But again, that's just my personal preference. Okay, so moving on to these lower ones. So all this PVC here and even the plastics here, I'll give that a clean. Now this job was originally done traditionally, as best I could with outer reach ones. Actually, this conservatory is relatively new, so those windows weren't as inaccessible as they are now. A couple of years ago I used to do this job and this wasn't here, so yes, it was all done originally traditional methods, to get all the ingrained dirt off, and obviously the likes of specialised detergents and razors were used in the beginning to get everything as good as possible. And with this specific job, the water-fed pole works quite well now for the maintenance cleans. I don't use it for everything, but like any tool in a toolbox, pick and choose which jobs you use it for, or you may well use it for everything. So scrub the tops, sides, Now for maintenance cleans, unless there's something really ingrained on the glass, you can usually scrub it with one pass and the debris or dirt will come off, but if there's something ingrained you might have to go over that area a few times. So across, down the side, up, down, all the way across, finish at the bottom, give the bottom a scrub, and then rinse from top to bottom. All the way across, frame to frame. Make sure you're pushing all that dirt from top to bottom, all the way down. Then finally give the sills a clean. Now the flow is set to 60 on the digital controller in the van at the moment, and that gives me really good flow. I don't need it any higher than that. You can see the water coming out of there is pretty good. So 60 is a good flow setting for me and the types of hoses that I have. But it depends on the diameter of your hoses. That is a factor in what settings your controller will be on, and indeed the temperature affects it as well. There we go. Okay, so I've left the gutter machine out just now because after I've washed the conservatory, obviously some of the debris is going to go into the guttering there, so I'll get a final clear out just at the end. I've got the majority out of it because it was pretty chock-a-block, but just any little bits that come off the conservatory, I'll give it a final little hoover out with the machine just to make sure it's all nice and squeaky clean in the gutters there after we've cleaned the conservatory roof. So let's go on and clean that then. Okay, so we've got these panels across here to clean. As you can see, there's a wee bit of debris from the trees, pine needles and whatnot, so we'll do the best we can with it. This brush is really good for getting under that little canopy bit above the conservatory at the top there. Good, it's a really good brush, this one. A little bit heavy, but I do like the fact it gets into all the nooks and crannies and gives everything a good scrub, so that's why I've stuck with it for quite some time. Give it a little blast out. There we go. Just get all those pine needles and debris down the conservatory roof. There we go, down at the gutters. There we go. Now you could do this traditionally, but with all the debris and everything, it's just going to get stuck in your applicator all the time. You're going to be forever cleaning the applicator out. It's going to be getting stuck with pine needles and debris. So some jobs, this is just going to supersede using traditional methods. This tool makes more sense for this task. Absolutely. If it was just general dirt, then probably absolutely fine to do, but with twigs and pine needles, you really need the purified water system. Right then folks, I've cleaned the whole conservatory roof, and I've also got that window from when I was on the ladder doing the conservatory roof. So these couple of windows, and then drop down and do these lower ones. So I'll get this Velux window. Now personally I do the frames as well as the glass itself on the Velux, just makes the whole thing look nice. I know some people maybe just do the glass, but for me I like to make the whole thing look presentable, so the whole thing gets a wash. Right, be careful with open windows. Just do the pane as best you can, and then the sill underneath. You can also, if this will switch off this time. Nope. Okay, old-fashioned way. Let's kink the hose. Right. I can just go over the outside of this frame with the damp brush. Just saves getting any water in there. Okay, and then start the water again. give it a wee rinse down. There we go. Right. So yeah, these poles are really good. Really enjoyed using the younger N light for the past few years. I think this one must be about 2 years old or more. And obviously you can see the stickers have pretty much faded, but other than that, it's absolutely still solid. Look, I'm pushing really hard on that angle adapter and it's not moving at all. So the teeth are still strong. And you can see the sections are still holding really well. If I clamp that down there like that, I'm pulling as hard as I can and that's not budging. So clamps are still good, still holding the pole really well. Really nice strong carbon on these N-light poles. It's not like any other pole I've actually ever used, to be honest. I've used loads of different carbon fibre poles and by far this one is my favourite. It's rigid and strong. The clamps have held up really well. Like I say, the only downside is this brush is a wee bit heavy. So that's the only thing, if I had a negative thing to say about them. But it stood the test of time. I've used it for traditional, used it for waterfed, and I've got a few different sizes. But yep, if I was to recommend a pole to anybody, I'd be more than happy to recommend this one. I've used loads from Gardner, Phantom poles. I've even used some of the brands from America I've had sent over in the past, like Tucker and whatnot. And personally, this is my favourite. So I like the fact you can use these as a waterfed or traditional, and all you need is like a little adapter goes in here and converts it, so then you can use an Unger end cone, which obviously has a locking mechanism to it as well, so you know your traditional tools are nice and secure, so you can use your N-light pole for everything and anything. Splendid. Right then folks, so that is the end of today's video. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Hopefully it's been of interest to you. You've maybe learned something or found something interesting. That would be brilliant if you let us know in the comments box below. Any questions, again, pop them down below as well. I'll get back to you as quickly as we can. And until next time, you take care, be good, and bye for now. Oh, and remember, keep on squeegee slinging.